sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Game Week 13. It's the Saturday FPL Live. We've got a new thumbnail. We've got the 3 o'clock games about to kick off. Good afternoon to Uncle Juicy TV, Ayan in chat. We've got Amanda Dillon there as well, sporting his nice Smexy membership badge. Got Mac, Romello, Vish is in chat, Mike Byrne, the Don, Aussie Boy FPL. How you doing, Aussie Boy? Matt Brunton's there too. We've got Daily Llama, Uncle GCTV. I've already said his name. I don't know why I said it twice. Davey P, how you doing? Sultan Saeed and One Rovers Vlogs. Charlie, how you doing for this game week? What did you think of that game? Obviously, we will talk about the midday game. Obviously, that game's just not long finished between West Ham and Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Steve-O doesn't have a clue. Doesn't have an absolute clue what has happened in that game. I'm just going to bring up Steve-O's team on the screen. For those of you who don't know his team this game week.
I don't think you do, Jason, but it doesn't matter.
What do you mean I don't think? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Give me a minute then. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Right, so let me just bring it up. There it is. There's his team on the screen. So, Steve-O, are you ready to find out how the game went this early afternoon?
Yeah, go for it.
Right.
for it. What?
So there's something that's been consistent in West Ham's recent run of results, and that generally stems at the back. Consistent being the word, but obviously not for the best reasons. There's a goalkeeping issue at West Ham. Roberto was in goal again. How many balls do you think went through his arms today?
Right, I'm going to go with none based on the way you're talking about this.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no. There was more than none that went through his arms today.
Right, okay.
He was
right,
absolutely
then, okay.
useless. I'm building it up because I can see you getting excited, right? So he was useless today. He was really awful. I don't want to say that Noble was absolutely amazing. Honestly, Noble for West Ham, my man of the match. Overall man of the match out of both teams, in my opinion. It could have been a whole different result if they had Fabianski in goal. I really do think the better team lost. I really do think the better team lost. I watched the game. It'd be interesting to see what you guys think in chat, whether I'm talking rubbish or not. But I genuinely think the better team lost. Okay, so basically in the 36th minute, it took 36 minutes for Tottenham to score their first goal. And that was scored by, it wasn't Harry Kane, it was Heung-min Son.
Yeah, well, the history said he was a good captaincy choice.
And the assist was from Dele Alli, of all people. Then we had obviously just before the second half. It was just before the second half. Spurs got their second goal in the 43rd minute.
Mate, you're really annoying me because I just want to hear if Harry Kane's got a clean sheet. I don't care.
All right, the games are kicking off now. Anyway, right, okay, so Spurs did not keep a clean sheet. Spurs conceded 2 goals, but they won. They won 3-2, and West Ham did have a goal disallowed from Declan Rice. It was offside.
3-2.
Yes, so they beat West Ham 3-2.
So the history statistics of that is crazy.
Anyway,
that's 3.
Lucas Moura got the second goal. Oh, I was going to give you the goal scorers. Lucas Moura got the second goal with Heung-min Son having the assist.
Well, I hope Boona and Brew listen to what I said about the history captaining Son. If you're going to captain a Spurs player,
and then this is it now. So the third goal came from none other than Harry Kane, scoring a header.
Own goal.
What?
You said they lost 3-2.
No, I didn't. I said they won 3-2.
Well, they won 3-2.
They won 3-2.
And Harry Kane scored.
Harry Kane scored the third goal. Yes.
Oh, I misheard you. Fantastic.
Yeah. So Harry Kane scored the third goal with Serge Aurier of all of people getting the assist. Right. So then the comeback started, and again I talked about Mark Noble being amazing today. He got the assist. It was a beautiful flick. Completely fooled the Tottenham defence, and Antonio went through and kind of did this amazing finish actually from Antonio. He came on actually at half time, and he was brilliant as well. And 73rd minute they got a goal back, and he did get a yellow card. Harry Kane did get a yellow card. You will not be.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. So he's getting a bonus point. It looks like as well. I don't know if it's 100%.
You sure about that with the yellow card?
Well, I think so. I think he's going to, unless anyone can correct me in chat. Robert Snodgrass getting picked up a yellow card at the same time. They kind of got in a tussle. We kind of threw him up in the air and dropped him down. Oh, it's stupid.
Jason, I'm going to have to stop you here. Have you not seen my team and what I've done?
Yes, I see what you did. You relied. Why did you rely on the West? Why did you rely on Spurs defenders? What was what?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Wait, Captain Mane, you've got
no. No, I haven't.
Wait, what? You haven't Captain Mane?
No.
Are you joking?
The team's in front of you, unless it hasn't. It better have flaming saved. If it hasn't, then
oh my God, Steve-O.
Right. So can we get on with this? Right.
You
then.
haven't
Thank you.
captain. Right, okay. An apology, please, because you've captained Mane. I'm looking at your team right
Have
now.
I?
Yeah.
Oh, you're joking. Are you serious?
No, I'm lying to you.
Ah, what? Well, this is entertainment for everybody. What a waste of time. Honestly, I swear to you, I put the captaincy armband on Trent Alexander-Arnold. Honestly, I swear, and I saved the team. I swear to you, I'm fuming. Are you serious? It hasn't gone through.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me right now.
Oh, damn! I put the armband on.
How about you wait? How about you wait and see? Because Mane could get a hat trick away at Crystal Palace, and you'll be like, well, I knew all along that Mane was the best captain pick. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, the game ended 3-2, and obviously games are in action now. I'm gonna put the radio on. Hello, everybody in chat. You literally just a bit of entertainment, a bit of unscripted entertainment there for you.
Well, I was going to. In fact, I'm going to do it for everybody watching this. Then to hell with it. So, essentially, what I was going to do. In fact, I'll do it now. I'll only have one though. Is to get me through today. I was going to get. In fact, I'll have two. I was going to have 2 shots of vodka just to get me through this because I swear, I've just put out a video about it. And I said that I wanted to get through this by having a laugh because I've captained Trent Alexander-Arnold and I'll be in panic mode. So I thought I'd have 2 shots of vodka just to calm my nerves. I
want to say, Steve, you're a fraud.
Shut up. That's really annoyed me. Flaming hell. I swear to you, I did it. I put it on the thing on him this morning and I was like, the time between 11 and 11 and 30.
Different captains.
Oh, yeah. Who did you do then?
Vardy.
Oh, you went Vardy, did you?
Yeah.
Ah, you happy with that one?
Cheers, everybody. I wanted to captain Lundstrom.
What was that about Lundstrom?
I said no, I prefer to captain Lundstrom, but he's on my bench. I did actually switch Mason Mount out for Lundstrom, but I just didn't hit the save button. I switched Mason Mount out for Lundstrom in, and then I just forgot about it and left it on my computer screen and did other things and took my missus to work. And I thought, well, I'm not that bothered about it, to be honest. I was going to switch him.
So, team news then. Any shock team news at all?
Salah's on the bench.
Oh, he's on the bench. Did Robertson start?
Yeah.
Oh, he played. He's playing, is he? Right, okay. Any other team news that stood out when you're thinking, my goodness?
Not that really is affecting us in FPL wise. I don't know if anyone has got any. There's nothing else. Everything else is pretty straightforward, to be honest with you.
Excellent. That's all right then. Wow. So your team, I'll look it up on my screen then.
Oh, Jan Matt's not playing. For all 4 people that own Jan Matt.
Oh, Jan Matt isn't. Oh, really?
Vardy's gone close. Head's just over the bar.
How did here's a question for you then. Now we know now I know the scoreline 3-2. So to clarify, it was 3-0, was it, to Tottenham, and then they conceded twice?
Correct, but they also conceded a third. They conceded 3 times technically, and then they had a goal disallowed by VAR. But the VAR goal disallowed was perfect. It was perfectly fine disallowed. It was offside, miles offside.
Who was that?
It was Declan Rice at the back post. The ball came in from a cross through a pack of players. I think someone got a deflection of the West Ham, deflected it towards goal, and during that point, Declan Rice was straight offside into the back post and just kicked it in. He needed to kick it in for it to be a goal. So, yeah, it was just one of those. It was clearly offside.
So how?
Whoa!
I mean,
Danny Ings has scored.
You're joking. Has he really?
Yay! Oh, come on. Please beat Arsenal, Southampton. Please. I wanna see Arsenal Fan TV tonight. Oh, God, I'll have an entertaining night tonight.
Well, Danny Ings, here's one more shot. Flaming out. I'm feeling a bit after that.
Keep going, Steve. Keep going. We all know it's water.
What was I going to say, Jason? What did Tottenham look like then, genuinely? Did they look like a different
team?
Tottenham
looked pretty... I'm going to be honest with you. I told you, the better team lost. Like, Tottenham took their chances. Well, I say Tottenham had shots on target, okay? That's essentially what happened. They had shots on target. And if you had a shot on target with Roberto in goal, you were going to score. Literally, he was shocking. I'm not joking. He was shocking today. Well, he's been shocking for many game weeks, but yeah. I think Chelsea next week. You'll be upset. You ain't got Tammy Abraham in your team. Put it that way.
What is it?
Assist.
West Ham next.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you never know. I may get rid of Kane and bring in
Tammy Abraham.
bring in Son and do a minus.
Steve's had 2 shots. He's already on about ruining his team. God.
But
sorry, Jason. Tottenham were the better team today. No, I'm sorry. I don't think they were. I mean, but I will beg to differ on that. I just think West Ham, they were not clinical in the final third. They made chances, and Spurs didn't defend that well. And 70 minutes, Spurs really played well. After that, no intent as usual. Jason watched a different game. No, I didn't watch a different game. It was I genuinely thought that West Ham were the better team over the 90 minutes. A draw, okay. A draw would have been a fair result.
Yeah, another hoop. Steve is swaying already. I'll be falling asleep in a minute. I don't drink that often, so when it comes to drinking, and especially 2 shots of vodka in a row, that's going to kill me. But yeah, everybody, are you all excited for this particular game week? I mean, were you shocked at the West Ham result? That's what I want to hear about. But just to let everybody know as well, I will be covering the Man City versus Chelsea game as well, if you're interested to stick around. So, Jason, do you want to go through the teams, the key players in our Cash Mini League, the top 3, 4?
Yeah, sure. I'll go bring it up now. Right, so top of the league, we've got Marlon Moore.
What's he done this? I don't know myself.
Marlon Moore, he's currently on 7. Obviously, games just kicked off, so didn't have anyone. Well, he had Aurier on the bench actually, who's ironically going to get bonus points. He's not going to get him on for anyone. No, he's not. It's not unlikely he's going to have him come on.
Captain Mane.
Captain Mane. He's got Robertson's playing obviously. Heaton in goal, home to Newcastle. You'd hopefully get something out of that. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Chilwell, Lundstram, Robertson, Jan James for Man United. I think he's a bright spark, and I think that's the next best option. Well, third best option behind, in order: Martial, Rashford, then James. But value for money, I can see why he went for him. And then we've got Mane. Yeah, like you said, Tielemans in there. Mane, De Bruyne, Vardy, Abraham, Jimenez. So it's very, very similar to the template at the moment, really. Just a couple of players off the template. So second place in the challenge league.
Look what he's done! Look what flaming show
me the Mane is Captain Richarlison in a move that is gonna puzzle a lot of us that are in the Cash League. Still got Deulofeu in his team as well, as you know.
Look who we got rid of, Jason, in his transfers.
Look who he got rid of.
He's
got Salah on the bench. He's got Salah on the bench. So I mean,
what, again?
Yeah, he got Salah on the bench. Yeah, he got rid of Son. Oh no, he got in Son for David Silva, and he took out De Bruyne for Richarlison. Interesting.
And he captained him. Remember, he captained Richarlison as well.
Yeah,
I'm surprised at that, considering he brought in Son. I would have thought he would have gone with Son.
Very interesting. Very interesting. He's on 18 points at the moment. Obviously, he got Son in his team. And all these players are on 1s and 2s because the games, again, it's only been 1 game played. Third place in the Challenge League is Nasty Bulls, Dan Simpson. And he is on 16. He's also got Son in his team. A good start.
Did he transfer him in, though? That's the question.
Did he transfer him in? Let's find out. He did. He took out De Bruyne. Same move. Took out De Bruyne, brought in Son.
What did you say to me? And look who his captain, Sterling. What did you say to me the other day about you would have been, well, not worried, but you would have been more interested if I'd have brought in Son instead of Kane. But I couldn't. It was more of a difficult move for me personally. But yeah, it's Captain Sterling. Nasty Balls. He's a regular contributor. Well, regular in chat. I wonder if you're there, Nasty Balls. Hello.
I'm just reading chat. So apparently, Ings could have had a second. Could be Emery's last evening, says Scott. Who knows? Who would come in, Scott? Who do you think would come in for that Arsenal job? Rafa?
I've seen Nasty Balls.
And
has
also
gone with
15 minutes played and only one goal. In all the games, in all 6 games that are on at the moment, only one goal in the first 15 minutes.
I'm still fuming that Trent Alexander-Arnold captaincy thing didn't go through. That ends 0-0.
Did you use the official website or did you use the app?
Yeah, I use the website. Everything. I know. For fact, I must. If that ends 0-0, or I don't know, Clitherbull keep a clean sheet and Trent gets 3 bonus and Vardy and all
Trent
the other
gets an assist or so, and then like Henderson gets the goal or something.
And I'll explain why I was going to do it, why I did it as well. It's because, like you've just said, he's throwing in as many balls as possible. Crystal Palace have conceded the most headed goals this season. They can't seem to score a goal. And I was looking at the pattern that Trent Alexander-Arnold seems to go through, and it seems to be 2 points followed by returns, 2 points followed by returns, and you get the idea. And last time he only got 2 points, so I expect him to get returns. And I'm absolutely fuming, Jason.
Well,
fuming.
I was confused when I said that you captain Mane, and you were saying, "No, I haven't. Check my team. I was like, I've got the wrong person's team up on the screen or something. Am I looking at? Obviously, people brought in Gazaniga as well. With news that Mourinho's now in charge, and I don't think they look that solid at the back. Spurs. I mean, going forward, they are pretty good, but again, I wouldn't be touching personally at the moment. It's still way too early. James from the Planet FPL podcast actually says. I think his words were, if you own them, don't sell them. If you don't own them, don't buy them. Yeah. That's what he said. I couldn't agree more, James.
He also said about the fact that if you are to bring in a Tottenham player, Ali. He actually mentioned Ali.
Yeah, he did say Ali. Yeah, he actually looks a different player at the moment. Well, he looked a different player today than his normal self. Like he looked a bit more sharper, in better positions. But again, it was. I don't want to take anything away from Spurs, but I think that if I was on the field for 10 or 15 minutes and I just hung around the penalty area and just got a shot off on target against Roberto, I think I probably would have scored myself. So,
one of our close friends, Phil, he said that he got a lot of hate on Instagram for playing Ings instead of Lundstrom. Well, that's the sheep mentality, isn't it? It's you must go with the player which everybody owns and wants to play. And well played to you, Phil. Well played for playing Ings. You've captained Vardy. Good on you.
Just Ari Hiroki's in chat saying that actually Dele Alli's been in form for what's going on here. I've got to sign in again. What? Hang on.
Oh dear. We got technical issues on Jason. Thank God
not
you're
my fault. Blame the official game. Maybe I've been hacked.
Dele Alli's been on form. Okay, let's just quickly. Well, I'll bring him up. Well, not on the screen, but I can bring him up and just see what that specifically means. If you mean form as in real life, he's been looking good. Then fair enough. Last 5 fixtures, 2 goals, 1. Well, basically
equaliser to Arsenal.
Yeah.
It's not letting me log in.
Go. Lacazette.
Yeah. Who is the guy that's the Lacazette fan club that comes on the show?
It was Crazy Jack.
Crazy Jack, if you're watching.
Aubameyang assist, Lacazette goal.
What's going on? I can't log in.
Oh no! Oh dear, Jason.
It sometimes does this though. Yeah.
Start streaming from my end.
There we go. There we go. It's an Aubameyang assist. It's a Aubameyang assist, apparently.
Yeah, Aubameyang assist. Lacazette goal. But what I was going to say is that Abdul said that I should take a shot for every goal that was scored. What I was going to do legitimately was I was going to take a shot for any time Trent Alexander-Arnold would get an assist, and if he was to get a clean sheet and 3 bonus, I would have taken three shots, 1 per bonus point. But unfortunately, that's completely fallen flat on its blinking face. Crying out loud.
Do that for Mane then.
Nah, it's too much of the pop. Who's the most popular captain pick this overall? Do we know?
Who is the most popular? It is
Vardy. I've just seen it. It's Vardy. But Phil, you're live in chat. Can you post the statistics for the Cash Mini League as to who's the most captained percentage-wise? And that'd be interesting to hear. Very interesting to hear. It's always fascinating with the Cash. Oh, Charlie. I wonder what One Rovers vlog has done. Are we vice captain Son and captain Vardy? Ouch. I bet you brought in Son as well. You did a -4, of course you did. He's gone with a 4-3-3 as well.
Goal to Wolves.
Matinho.
Wolves are taking the... Wolves have scored against my keeper.
Yeah, Matinho.
Who got the assist?
Well, whoever it was, I reckon it may have been a defender.
My poor Ramsdale. How many saves is he going to get that game? Come on, Ramsdale.
But Charlie, he brought in Son. What? A lot of people have got rid of De Bruyne, Jason. What are your thoughts on this? Son?
What's that, sorry?
Son in for De Bruyne. Your thoughts on people getting rid of De Bruyne?
Wow. Ask me tomorrow. Well, when you speak to me next after tonight's game at home to Chelsea, I think. 4 game weeks ago, we were saying that De Bruyne was essentially season keeper, and now we're seeing people transferring out City assets because of a slump. But I don't think it's going to last. I think that Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne at the end of the day, and will he match Son? Can he match Son's points today and even get more? Of course he can. So we'll wait and see on that one.
Jota assist. Matinho goal for Wolves.
Oh.
There we are. Thank you to Arioki Vish. Fair play to you. Charlie saying that he now has no City assets whatsoever. Dear, dear. Yes, Aussie boy. Aubameyang got the assist for the goal. Greckless saying that he captained Kevin De Bruyne. It was a free kick from Matinho. Right, okay. Interesting. Free kick from Matinho. So obviously Jota got fouled there. Well, last time we did 3 o'clock kickoffs, Jason, there was like 500,000 goals, and now today there's 3.
3 goals, yeah, so far.
23 minutes gone as well. Dear, oh dear.
It came off the defender after Aubameyang touched it, so it was questionable. Okay, so have the Premier League given? They have they? They've given it to Aubameyang. Interesting. Let's find out.
I wonder if
they did.
I wonder if Juggernauts. Where's Juggernauts gone? Always dropping down like a fly in the Cash Mini League. Did he go? He captained Son. Juggernauts went with the history and he captained Son. Fair play to Juggernauts there.
Scott Speed in chat saying, "Do a shot for every minute without a goal."
Yeah, absolutely.
We want Steve-O to be able to talk.
Oh God, that'd be a shot literally every minute. That'd be what, about 1,000.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that.
I might as well just down a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Jason. There's a lot of Sterling captainers in the Cash Mini League.
Well, let's just hope that Vardy can actually, can keep his scoring form up, because You're right. There's a diversity in the Kashmir League on captains, and make and break. We all know how important captaincy picks are. God forbid.
Well,
God forbid if Vardy blanks.
I'll be gutted if that potential
Big
move that I
red
said
arrow.
that I was going to do, Sterling in, Baldock in, for a -4.
Currently, I'm
but
on
of
0
course,
points.
The move that I was seriously considering doing, and unfortunately didn't go through with it because of Mourinho. Leicester on the attack at the moment, and it's come to nothing.
Yeah, I'm listening to the Liverpool game.
Oh, you've got the Liverpool game on. How does it sound like they're playing? Do you have any idea? Or?
It sounds like it's Liverpool are kind of putting the pressure on, but again, I'm hearing Trent Alexander-Arnold's name quite a lot.
And of course, you've got double Liverpool defence in Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. You must be confident.
Well, I'm not confident on Ramsdale's points now. He's conceded, so yeah, and Soyuncu's a bonus, isn't he? So yeah, I am. Sorry, no, nothing we need to worry about. Yeah, I am quite happy. But there's a question in chat. Dre Zera says, out of Jason and Stevo, who will get the best game week score?
Well, we've got the same team.
Stevo, probably, because he's due to beat me at some point.
Haven't I beat you over the last 2 weeks or something, isn't it? Is that right or not? It's just I'm just getting further and further behind.
I think you're right. It seems so similar. It's down to the captaincy. It's down to whether a fact Mane scores or Vardy scores. Let's be honest. That's what it's down to.
Wow. Stein. You got Tomori coming off the bench. In fact, you'll get Tomori and Montoya because Connolly doesn't start, and nor do Salah. He may come on. Oh dear. Stein. It looks like Jason Stein. That is 20.
So
where is he? Oh, for goodness sake.
Where is Stein?
21st. He's got 3 players not playing today. Well, one of them's benched, but Sykes and Connolly not playing, and Salah on the bench, and he's got Saka, Tomori, and Montoya. So all 3 players, 2 of them could be coming on 3. Hopefully, Salah doesn't come on.
Wow. Penny for your thoughts, Stein. The Peckham Pumas.
Oh, Brett Mollison went with Jimenez captain.
Jimenez?
Interesting. Vice captain Trent Alexander-Arnold as well.
Interesting.
It doesn't matter now.
Obviously,
both
but it sounds like Palace are giving Liverpool a good game at the moment. Sounds like.
Oh my goodness. FPL Penguin captained Son.
Oh, okay. Steve Jason Sace is playing for Wolves, but he's already been booked. That's why he's showing as being on 0.
Jesus. That's awful. Wow, FPL Penguin, he got rid of Mount and Lamella and brought in Son, captain, and McGinn. So he's got a Monday night footballer playing. It's always nice to have a Monday night footballer playing. Come on, where's the goals?
I don't know. Well, it seems that how long ago was it since we had the last goal? Like 6 minutes ago?
God knows. Oh, Barnes coming close there for Burnley. Who did miss the ball, captain? Sterling. Oh. Missed the ball going with a 3-5-2, taking a -4. And who did he get in? Loughton and De Bruyne out for Alexander-Arnold and Tielemans.
Liverpool may lose this, says the Don. It's been like 28 minutes play.
Well, the history doesn't suggest it whatsoever. Aussie Boy saying we always struggle against Palace. Again, the history doesn't suggest that whatsoever. The history, the common theme statistic in this game: Liverpool have won 5 out of the last 6 and have kept 3 clean sheets, predicting a 2-1 victory to Liverpool.
Well, Salah in chat saying, where are the goals? Maybe if Salah was on the field, they may have scored.
Yeah.
Salah will come on, says Chelsea Flyer, saying he will make a huge impact. Well, I think one of the things that Salah does provide, even if he doesn't score, is that his movement, his runs take defenders away, create spaces, and that's when Mane takes advantage. When those pockets are opened and he can run into them. Salah being on the pitch is a lot better for Mane than Salah not being on the pitch. That's what I'm trying to say. Steve-O captain Mane.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, I did have the captaincy on Trent Alexander-Arnold, but clearly
I saw your tweet, and then the thing is, you've got the vice captain on him.
Yeah, I know. I've clearly made some major stupid error.
Have you thought you captain? Well, no, because you took a screenshot.
No, I know. Yeah, you don't need to tell me. You need to tell me what's happening. 2-0 to Wolves.
Please be Jimenez. Please be Jimenez.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Jimenez.
Come on, Jimenez.
It's fine
Come
now.
on. It is Jimenez, says Bilal.
Yeah, but
Bilal, don't get my hopes up like this. Please be true. It's Jimenez.
It's Jimenez. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Bilal. Thank you, Charlie, for confirming that.
Do you have Jimenez?
Yeah, man.
Why am I celebrating? I don't care.
Why am I celebrating, says Steve-O? Why bother? Oh, Alexander-Arnold in the penalty area across the face of goal after Van Aanholt lost the ball.
He's created 400 attempts this season or something. Was it? In all seriousness, he's created 92 attempts, and the nearest person is Kevin De Bruyne or something on 50 or something. And yet, one day Trent will come in with an incredible.
Traore again, returning FPL points.
Who's that? Sorry,
Traore for Wolves.
Oh, he got an assist, didn't he?
Oh,
wow.
Robertson crossed in from the left-hand side, flying header, and then Tompkins clears it out for a corner.
Paulie, our resident match side reporter there, thank you for the confirmation of the Traore assist.
Well, it doesn't say it on FPL apparently, so we'll just double check what's going on there. Maybe it's not an FPL.
It would take a while to flame an update, for crying out loud.
No, Jimenez goals. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, Traore's assist is there. Yeah, I don't know what.
One rover. Well, Charlie's saying that guarantee you Ox will score. Well, I agree. I think that Oxlade-Chamberlain is actually a very solid pick to have if Salah was out injured. I said, but of course, Steve-O shot down as ever. Don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Bilal saying I sold Traore a few weeks ago. Since then he's got 2 assists. Yes, it's the standard way, but it's just his price bracket of 5.2. Jason, do you want to tell our audience about the Champions League that Daily Llama set up? Do you want to tell them about it? Do you want to bring up the graphic and everything?
Oh, I ain't got it really set up to bring it on this screen at the moment. But but essentially, it's Champions League format as groups of well-known content creators, and we've got some really high-profile names in the FPL community joining us. So come game week 21, it kicks off. Community members are involved as well. Daily Llama, who's I think maybe in the chat, he's kind of the brain. It's his brainchild. He's kind of the brains behind it, and yeah, to name a few, we've got Nathan Bacon, FPL. We've got Andy from Let's Talk FPL, who got the assist. The FPL Cougars. We've got Jules Breach. We've got Az. David Monday, not Darren Monday. Can't get his name right from someone that sounds. I don't know why I confused the two. They're completely different people. And yeah, we've got a lot of people. I think we had over 70 odd people sign up for it, and we're just picking through them now and making sure that we fairly select the right candidates really for selection, because we want active members of the community to be a part of it. And FPL, yeah, Lynn FPL. I don't know if you're aware of her, Steve-O, but she's massive on Twitter, and she's joined today. When is the draw? Stay tuned. Are we still taking member applications? Unfortunately, not at the moment. Now I think we closed them, but we did on Discord. We did kind of give loads of notice for people to kind of sign up, and we did it through the vote system in the team vote. There you go. So yeah, you looking forward to the Champions League, Steve?
No, I am. I think Daily Llama, the work he's put into it, it looks phenomenal. The whole graphic setup and everything, and it's really, really cool to see when it becomes real.
It's going to be. Sorry.
Yeah, when it becomes real and when it starts kicking off in game week 21, I think that's when it's going to be like, you know what, this is going to be some fun. I think. I'll be honest with you, I'm still fuming inside about that not going through as Trent Alexander-Arnold. In fact, you know what? Can't you bring up the tweet from this morning and put it on screen?
I could do, I suppose, but I don't have the same setup as you. I don't have Twitter kind of on my.
Oh, my dad's just messaged me and said that Andre Gray has just smacked Tarkowski in the face, and it's been no card whatsoever.
What?
Interesting. Andre Gray, former striker of ours, he's apparently just smacked him in the face, and he's got absolutely nothing. So.
Yeah, and also going back to this Champions League game that we're setting up is there's going to be a functionality to check.
Oh, hold on a minute. We've got a red card at Bournemouth. Apparently, Billing has been sent off. Thank you, FPL Tips, for that. Juggernauts is here. My goodness, Juggernauts. I think we could maybe make a specification for this, Jason, and bring him on Discord.
Well, if he's free, he's welcome to come on. I'm just trying to get out the fact that we're going to have this Champions League format come game week.
Hold on a minute. Sorry. Whoa. Apparently, there's 2 red cards in the Bournemouth game, and it's someone called who the hell is Francis?
Defender.
Who?
Francis is the defender, isn't he? Let me have a look.
Who the hell is Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on. This is what the worst thing about live stream. We've got a red card. It's not Billing. It's Francis. Right. Simon Francis has been red carded, not Billing. Right. There we are. Let's clarify that. Scott Speed, feel your boots, Jimenez. Do I go mental at the fact that Jimenez isn't a differential chaser? Can't do that. Can't be doing that. But according to Paulie, Billing has
Jimenez
already been
will smash now. Says AD in chat. Yeah. According to Paulie, what? Sorry.
Billing has been booked. Mind.
Right. Okay.
James Bangs saying, "Good evening, James. He got 2 yellow cards."
Right. Okay.
Come on, Wolves.
Wolves must be absolutely all over him then.
I hope so.
So, what was I going to say? I was going to say, yeah, for the third time we're trying to say it. This Game Week 21 tournament will be listed on our website, and we'll have the live tournament positionings, placements, and progress all updated live on the website. So. That's something that I'm talking to Daily Llama about and looking for, and it seems to be working really well. So it'll all be able to be tracked online on the website.
Statman's here afternoon, Kev. Listening in bed. It's 4:30 in the morning at the moment. Again, congratulations, by the way. I'm assuming you saw my members video, but congratulations on your proposal and the acceptance by your now fiance. Well done to you, lad. Cameron Collins there. I've Captain Lacazette. Fair play to you. Resi Desi's here, Andy. Number 1 in the predictor game. Welcome to the stream, my friend. What did you predict the Crystal Palace and game, Andy? That's what I want to hear.
Yeah. Tell me, what did you predict the Leicester game?
Yeah. Come on, Andy. In fact, Andy, if you got 5 minutes, type in what you predicted for this game week. That'd be interesting.
2 a.m. where Shano is. God.
Aussie boy, you mean?
Shano. It says it's 2 a.m. where he is.
Aussie boy says it's 2 a.m. as well.
Yeah.
Fantasy Football Focus, welcome. How can you have been on the live
went
chat?
with a 3-0 win for Liverpool.
Well. Stein's here. We've just been slagging you off, mate. Just been talking about your team, Stein.
Yeah.
Two of your players
why did you bring his team up, Steve-O?
Because he's a regular community member.
Yeah, but why were we talking about his team?
Oh, because he had Connolly and Salah not playing. Well, Salah's on the bench, but also I assume that Seiss wasn't playing for Wolves, but he's got a yellow card. That's why.
Still could have a decent game week. You never know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Hope not. As a rival.
As a rival, we hope you don't. Norwich are apparently all over Everton. Is it the game that Pookie can resurge?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Hello, Fantasy Football Focus. How you doing? Welcome to the stream, dude.
Ray Joyce, Captain. What is this with Sterling captainers? Wow, I was somebody that was saying that if I was to bring him in, I'd captain him. So maybe I should ask myself that question.
Oh God, a blatant push by Alexander Arnold. Jurgen Klopp's not happy.
There's another one that brought in
a clear push on Zaha. Right, okay.
Here's a question for you, Jason. Where did Son play today for Tottenham? Was he up front with Kane? Was he just behind him? Was he on the right, left? I mean, do you know?
James Tompkins scored. No!
You what?
James Tompkins for Crystal Palace has just scored.
No way. Oh, that's hilarious. Thanks, Matt Henley.
Oh.
Thank God
do you think Trent captain still sound like a good idea, Steve-O?
Christ almighty.
Jeez.
Laughable. Absolutely laughable.
You can't write this. I really agree that the fact that Steve-O is convinced he captained Trent didn't, and then they go and concede.
I'd have taken about 6 shots of vodka.
I would have preferred the miserable Steve-O that captained Trent and only got 4 points.
Yeah, but wasn't it what's his face? Somebody said
VAR apparently stuffing in their nose at the moment.
Cheers, Kev.
Hang on, this isn't the end of this. Again, the VAR checking it.
Nah, it'll give me flaming given for crying out loud. Fire target looks onside.
Came from a
Zaha dive, according to Shano. FPL tips saying a Palace goal doesn't mean much. I wonder what percentage of players have at least one of their defence. Yeah, but the amount of people that have double, if not triple, Liverpool defence, like Jason or Brett Mollison. That's the
What? Goal has been ruled out. What the hell?
Well, I say, I haven't captained it. Wow.
Oh my god, this is insane.
I'll tell you what. I don't. Oh, I'm not going to say it. I'm boring myself talking about it now. You apparently fouled Lovren in the box. Cheers, Paulie. There. Thank you for that.
You
He fouled
pushed.
Henderson. A foul on Henderson.
No, yeah, Lovren was the one that was pushed. Lovren was fouled in the box. I am happy now, yeah. This is what VAR does to you. Like, it can work both ways. It can take your happiness away, but then it can, when you've been gutted about something, it's very hard to change from straight away for being, oh, everything's back to be fine again. Give it a few minutes.
Fantasy Football Focus. Welcome back to FPL, everybody. Yeah, exactly. I like that FPL, Ros J. Very good. Liverpool. Very good. How many times will VAR save Liverpool, the Don
That's
says?
a very, very good question. How many times will VAR save Liverpool?
Do you know what, Jason?
If Trent gets a clean sheet and an assist, you're going to be frothing.
No, it's not that. It's more if Trent gets a clean sheet and Vardy and Mane do nothing, I'm going to be happy. That is going to absolutely make me so angry. Bring up Twitter and show everybody what I put up. Just to prove this.
Give me a minute then.
Blaming Nora. Or I put it on my phone anyway. Fantasy football, but all this FPL stress, and we do need international break after all. Fire Talk saying that Palace though are looking good. It looks like they're probably going to see them scoring. God's sake. Kev, you were watching this at 4:30 in the morning. Were you listening to this? You're mad.
Right, so this is what. Where is it? There we go. That's what. Hang on, I need to just turn the filter off. That's what Steve-O put up.
Yep.
Yep.
Typical. Oh, Andy, I've Mane captained.
Half time.
Half time at Crystal Palace. Wow. Oh, by the way,
what's the point of even trying against Liverpool? You just get your goal disallowed, the Don. I mean, I haven't seen it, but it does sound very soft. And again,
all the half time.
It's one of those where the referee has obviously not seen it, given the goal. Linesman's not seen it. They're celebrating. And VAR comes in and changes the scoreline. And, you know, great news for Liverpool fans. But not so great if you're, well, certainly if you're a Man City fan or a Palace fan or it was a big push, says Firetog. Okay, so it wasn't it was really obvious, was it? It was a real dig in the back, because somebody said in chat that it was away from the ball, but then that doesn't matter. It can be anywhere on the field, can't it? So if it's a foul, it's a foul. It's a two-handed push. Okay, fair enough. Right, so the scores at half-time. Bournemouth losing 2-0 to Wolves. My Ramsdale points are going down the drain. Fortunately, I got Jimenez in to get some off of Jimenez. Then we got Arsenal drawing to Southampton. That's about to go into half-time now. Brighton and Hove Albion 0-0. God, Leicester yet to score in that game. And Brighton... well, I don't know anything about that game. I don't know who's on top in that game at all, really. I think Leicester, from what I've heard, bits and pieces on the radio. Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 0. Could have been 1-0 just before half time. Of course, VAR getting in and changing the goal and ruling it out essentially. Who was it who scored again for Palace, Steve?
Tompkins,
that was it. Yeah, Tompkins' goal ruled out. So, yes, lucky Liverpool. Everton 0, Norwich City 0. It's just a load of 0-0s at the moment. Watford 0, Burnley 0. That's about to go into half time too. I'm going to take this opportunity to put the kettle on. Steve-o, so just give me a moment. I'm just going to mute my mic. I'll be back in 2 secs. All right.
you could have gone to break and I could have had some Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. Oh, we'll go to break if you'd like. Do you want to go to break? We're going to go to break, guys. We're going to give it.
Go to break, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll go to break. Keep the stream running. We'll go to
5
break.
minutes. 5 minutes or so. See you guys in a minute. 10-minute break. 10-minute break.
Oh, here we go. The world's loudest ice cream van as well. Congratulations.
That's a lovely accent you have. New Jersey?
Shanghai, Shenzhen, or Shenhua, Shenhua. Why?
Matic,
Possible style.
let me finish.
Oh, wow.
With that, I just have two more words to say.
Andy Salter.
To the waiting room before.
That's fine. Jane, we're detecting an accent.
Hello,
Where are you
darkness,
from?
my old friend.
I'm from far about. I'm from Central
I've
Asia.
come to talk with
from
you
Uzbekistan.
again.
I don't know
Wow.
if you've ever heard it that way. But yeah, far away.
Oh, there's me thinking I was going to flirt with somebody and what a shame. Anyway,
Jane, how's your game week been, my friend?
Good afternoon there and welcome to the Elite FPL Soccer Saturday show.
oh, hold on a minute. Oh, we think we
Just realised I couldn't play that clip because we're going to get taken off, so sorry about that. Just realised I couldn't play that clip. 1 second, guys.
Sayonju! We got 3 minutes! 4.7, 4.7, 4.7, 4.7. Sayonju. Williams. No, Newcastle. Let's go with Sayonju. Go on with Sayonju. Let's confirm team. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. Make transfers. Confirm transfers. Done. Right then, that's the team at the moment. That is the team at the moment, but there's no Arsenal coverage whatsoever. I hate it. We've got 2 minutes left. This is can we do AAA with Trent Alexander without Trent Alexander-Arnold in less than a minute? Yes, we can. Right, let's get Aubameyang quickly. As Ricky Gervais says in XFM, quickly. Aubameyang in. Right, we've got 4.1 million. Oh, God almighty. 4.1. No, I don't want any more from there. Get rid of Pereira. We've got 1 minute left. I don't think I'm going to make this whatsoever. I don't think this is going to be made whatsoever. Liverpool. Let's quickly bring in Matip. Oh my goodness. 1 minute left. We are counting down. 4.8. 4.8. Who can I bring in for 4.8 million? Let's just quickly go Burnley for a second. Peters. Can I do it? Should I do this team? Yes or no? We got 30 seconds. Should I do this team? Yes or no? We got Aubameyang. we got 30 seconds. Oh, it's passed now. No matter what's happened, the time has passed. I'm sweating. I don't even know what team I'm. Oh God, I'm getting up for a second. Hold a minute, let's go for a break. Let's just quickly go for a break. I need to get up because that is meant.
Righty then, we are back. It is, sorry, we just thought we'd play some old clips, some SMZ clips in there as well. Hopefully I ended that you know what clip before we get in trouble for that. So second half, Steve-O, how you doing, dude? How you feeling?
I don't want to keep going on about it, but I will do. This game ends 0-0. Crystal Palace, Liverpool. Trent Alexander comes in with the points. And Vardy and Mane do nothing. I am going to be absolutely effing fuming. But let's see how the bonus point. Oh, well, he's not even in the bonus points. Alexander Arnold, nowhere near him. Well, 4 points off it to get anything. But yeah, we'll be kicking off in a few minutes. Oh no, we've already kicked off.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get some goals, Jason?
Be nice.
Do you want to remind everybody what the scores are just before we...
Same as what they were before. 3 goals basically being scored. No, 4 goals, sorry. What am I on about? 4 goals being scored out of 6 games. Wolverhampton winning so far at Bournemouth 2-0, sorry. Arsenal drawing to Southampton 1-1 with Danny Ings and Lacazette getting on the goals there. Brighton 0-0, Leicester City, Crystal Palace 0-0 against Liverpool. Shocking that bit of VAR possibly going to be in the headlines again. But from listening to a few people, reading what few people have put in the chat, apparently it was a clear push in the box to deny Tompkins that goal. Everton 0, Norwich 0, Watford 0, Burnley 0. There you go. Whoa! Oh!
No, yes.
Best chance at Liverpool getting a goal, apparently. New hat.
New hat?
New hat, yeah. Well, just temporary.
You don't want a new hat, do you?
No, I
Keep
don't.
the old Elite FPL hat on, the stunning, the limited edition hat. One of the best hats
Mane didn't
possible.
score. I'll put my Christmas tree. Mane got very close, apparently. Yeah, I just heard it on the radio.
Well, Andy's captain. Well, along with a load of people that have captained, he seems the most popular captain picks in the Elite FPL.
Liverpool got the lead. Mane scored.
Yeah?
Mane scored, mate. You lucky
Yeah,
bugger, you.
Jones, him, it's...
Oh, shut up, Pete. Steve-O. You jammy bugger, you.
Why is that jammy?
Well, because you didn't intend to captain him. That's why it's jammy.
Well, if Robertson... Oh, no, I'm not even going to read that.
Robbo got the assist? No.
He didn't.
Firmino assist. Don't say stuff like that unless it's true. Steve-O, enjoy your vodka shot, mate.
No point in taking a vodka shot because it means nothing.
Robbo assist, people are saying. Okay, I'm not going to get happy until
This is the point. The people bang on about like I should be.
hang on.
You just saying there. I should. It doesn't matter. Mane's owned by $500 million. How much is Mane owned by?
People are
As a
saying
percent-
Robertson got the assist, mate. How do you feel?
And the fact that you've got exactly, it means absolutely nothing. The only way it's going to mean something is if 38%, so nearly 40% of the game own Mane. Captaining him means nothing. Apart from those extra few additional points, that's it. Until he scores, unless Mane was to get me a double-digit haul in this game, so gets me an assist or gets me another goal, God willing, and also Robertson doesn't get
People
the
are
assist.
saying goal came off a deflection, but Firmino did tap the ball, apparently. Maybe they're reviewing it because it's not been given yet on here.
Yeah. Well, I'm flaming
hang
over
on.
Robertson doesn't get the assist.
No
Obviously.
assist at the moment. No assist at the moment. There's no assist on that, so you might get away with that one, Stevie, because you obviously don't want me to benefit from Robertson.
Well, I'm here. Here he is again. Camby Labacta. Good evening, boys. Sat in the garden for the second half.
Oh
with
no,
you.
they've given it him. Sorry, mate.
Looking forward to a nice chilled hour. You're having a laugh, aren't you? Gee whiz is here. Flaming Nora. I should take a shot for that. Good God. So essentially,
Robertson and then Mane just
Robertson's confirmed.
yeah.
It is official. James and G Wiz officially confirming that Robertson has got the blasted assist.
Ramsdale's on 0.
Useless.
Let's have a look at Steve-O's team. See how he's now. Obviously, he's,
See, look at my team. Look at your team. You're the one that flaming got Robertson in. What does it matter with my team?
it's all right. You're beating me. You're 8 points more than me.
Wow. So that 8 points cancelled out because of the -8.
Well, no, I did a -8 as well.
Oh, yes. Cool.
Someone clip that. Someone clip that. Steve-O's face. He goes from being like. Oh, we go. Steve-O, the only way your face is going to go glum again is if Vardy does score 2 goals, because he did score late last game week, and if Tammy Abraham punishes you?
Yeah. But thankfully, he's away at Man City.
Yeah, because Man City are amazing defence, aren't they?
Could be a fright. In fact, I saw, surprisingly, I always like looking at the papers, kind of like betting tips, etc. And one of them suggested getting on 6-0 again to City.
What? Really? No.
It's only 70-1. I don't know how that works out.
Sorry, mate. Aubameyang very close. Robertson, Bilal saying that Robertson has 3 attacking returns in the last 3 games. Everyone says that Trent Alexander-Arnold is better, but reality is it clearly that Robertson's crossing is more accurate.
I don't know about that. I think that people just aren't putting away Alexander-Arnold's chances.
Exactly, I'm inclined to agree. Trent Alexander-Arnold puts balls right onto sixpence for a lot of chances for Firmino and Mane and Salah, and ultimately it's just been the case that more Robertson's crosses have been converted for some reason.
I mean, you're the one that's got the issue with Robertson. I mean, if you want to explain why,
I haven't got an issue with him. I just said that I thought that last season was a little bit of a phenomenon, and that he's not going to achieve the same amount of points this season as what he achieved last season. But he's on course to doing it, so maybe I'm going to be eating humble pie. Hence why Jason went from never having Hence why Jason went from never having a Robbo to having him. Yeah, well,
it's ironic, isn't it? All this rubbish about him not starting.
Yeah.
Norwich has scored.
Was it Pookie by any chance?
Hold on.
Penalty?
Yes.
It's Pookie with a penalty, is it?
No, hold a minute. Pookie assist and a Cantwell goal, I think.
What, are we on game week 1?
Pookie assist, Cantwell goal, I believe.
Oh my God! Who was it? Marlon? Who was it? It was captain. Show me the Mane with Richarlison captain.
Oh yes, of course.
Goodbye, Richarlison. Clean point. Cantwell goal.
Yeah, Pookie assist.
Oh, everyone want to fancy a Norwich bandwagon? Anybody bringing Cantwell and Pookie?
Camilo Lobatta, I mentioned that on the predictor screen the other day.
Go back to August, shall we?
Everton have awful fixtures coming up. They need to win this exactly.
Pookie assist.
Vish, someone transferred out Cantwell for Richarlison, he thinks. That was on the Discord.
Kevin Mack in chat saying Cantwell is a solid third on my bench. I don't blame you, Kevin. This is the thing, right? You can't criticise yourself. I mean, unless you really had a better option or didn't have a better option, which is unlikely. Insane, right? Hopefully, this second half is going to have loads of goals.
Oh well, hopefully, but
Vardy's going to get a hat-trick second half. Steve-O's going to down another shot of vodka to drown his sorrows.
I've got Vardy anyway. I mean, it's not really.
Well, like you said, if he gets a double-digit haul, that's when it punishes.
Yeah. That's the key.
And of course, Mane's got the advantage because he's a midfielder as well. And if they keep clean sheet,
well,
he gets a winning goal, clean sheet as well.
Mane's now scored 5 in 5 versus Crystal Palace, incredibly. Absolutely extraordinary.
Manchester Reds in chat saying, should Crystal Palace goal have stood? Well, from what we're hearing, no. It was a foul on Lovren 100%, but then that is from we've had a lot of Liverpool fans saying it was a foul. Mm-hmm. Until I see it, I don't know 100%, but it's sounding like it was a... Milivojevic just let fly and...
Hold on! McCarthy's just saved.
Watford 0.
Burnley have apparently scored. We have scored, in fact, we have actually scored. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Can
Hold
Burnley?
on. Hold on. Let's find out who scored.
A wood goal.
Looking at the far post.
A wooden goal.
Oh, it seems like Wood has scored. Yes. A lot of people talking about getting in
Oh,
Christmas.
hang on. Arsenal scored? Oh no, it's nil. It's still 1-1. Still 1-1. It's the way that this reporter kind of said was like, and it's still 1-1. I'm like, alright, okay.
A lot of people saying about getting Chris Wood in, but Bournemouth has scored.
10 men have got 1 goal back. Oh dear, all those Doherty owners out there.
Fraser goal,
And
Fraser
Seiss.
assist, Cook goal, Steve Cook goal, Fraser assist.
Wow.
Burnley are winning.
Imagine owning King or Wilson and hearing that
Thank God.
Cook goal, Wilson, Fraser assist, Cook goal. I mean, people are still sticking with Callum Wilson.
Come on.
Here we go. Some goals coming in, guys. Why is this not updating on the hang on.
Camby Labacta, Steve. I've got Loughton in my team. Who do I need to ditch? Do you recommend Taylor as a replacement? At the end of the day,
Yeah, you need to take a shot. I agree, Drazera. You need to take a shot
I'm
for
not
Burnley
taking a
scoring.
shot for that. Crying out loud, it's
For
not
Burnley
important.
scoring, mate.
Yeah, but from an FPL perspective, that's all I. Hold on. Johnny Evans has been quote unquote injured. Has been asked to leave the pitch despite. Interesting.
Yeah, because if he's gone down injured, he's got to leave the pitch before he comes back. Before he continues playing.
It sounds really weird. No FPL. I'm sure a lot of people like this. It's just ruined my real life appreciation of the game. To be honest with you, I just see points.
Can I ask in chat, how many of you guys have taken a hit this game week? Can I just ask you guys? I'm just curious. Because obviously myself and Steve-O, very unlike Steve-O taking a hit. It'd be interesting to know Tarkowski got the assist apparently. Leicester close. Oh.
Yeah. Well, sorry, what did you just do a vote for?
I'm just asking how many people took a hit. -4, -4, -4. No hit for me, Firetog. No hits this season, says Camby. No hits this season. Fair. Penalty?
That's West Brom.
Oh,
West Brom.
God. Never mind. Never mind. Sorry. Sheffield Wednesday and West Brom. Wrong
So
league.
essentially,
Wrong
me
league.
and you, Jason, we're only -4 on. I'm not suggesting all are. In fact, again, it'd be interesting to see. In fact, I can from our website, can't we? On our website, we can bring up the statistics
We can,
for
yeah,
our
we
Castle
can.
League.
Yep.
Excellent thinking.
Ban Jason for fake goals. Fake news. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. But I'm listening to it through. I probably should have this ear open because I'm listening to the radio through my headphones, and I just hear a penalty to, and I'm like, shit, and then I'm like, who to, and I'm like, oh, penalty. Sorry.
No, the unfortunately the website hasn't updated, Jason, yet. Unfortunately, shame.
Oh,
It'd
really?
be really interesting to hear how many points hits, or read how many points hits our Cash Mini League has done, because that's how it affects me and you.
Yeah. Well, as it stands at the moment, Mane. Oh no, Robertson's currently on bonus 3. Oh, that's gonna go down well if that stays like that. Oh, yeah, it hasn't updated. I don't know why. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, so Robertson currently on bonus 3. So Inchu's possibly going to be getting in the bonus points. That's good news. Chilwell on bonus 2. As it stands, obviously Brighton 0, Leicester 0. We need, and Pereira's on bonus 3. We need Vardy to score. Really need Vardy to score. Jimenez bonus 2, Moutinho bonus 3, Steve Cook bonus 1 in the Bournemouth Wolves game. Lacazette getting all bonus 3 points in the Arsenal Southampton game. Ings closely behind, with Bertrand behind him.
Perez scored, Vardy assist.
Oh, thank you.
Flaming hell.
Come on.
So just to clarify, Vardy goal.
Vardy goal. Vardy goal.
Perez a goal, Vardy assist.
Apparently, Vardy apparently. Wait, hang on.
No. Perez scored.
Oh, okay.
So Vardy assist. Flaming hell. Vardy assist.
Nice. Uzi Perez.
Oh, Stein has Perez, doesn't he? Well done, Stein.
It's still a return.
Yeah, but it's when you say the news about Flaming Robertson getting the friggin' 3 bonus points.
Well, as it stands, come on. I mean,
yeah, but
as it stands.
Especially if it ends 1-0. It sounds like it's going to end 1 blinking 0. Like I keep banging on.
I was just over the 60th minute mark. Currently on 40 points, minus 8. Ugh.
So whereas I'm on... Well, I'll be on very similar.
No, you're not. You're miles ahead.
43. So exactly, I'm up by 3 points on you. Wow. Waste of time.
Oh my God! Robertson pokes the ball forward, Fabinho in on goal, and forces a save by, oh my God, by Gaita. That would have been a possible second assist. Oh my God!
Wouldn't that be ironic, Jason, if it ended up with Robertson getting the assists or whatever, and I would have transferred? I would have captained Trent Alexander. Again, it's the same as last season.
Hey Tahir, how you doing, buddy? Leicester goal, almost a copy of what happened 5 minutes previous. So Liverpool need 1 more goal, says Camby in chat. Yeah, they do. Mane was alone on the right hand side apparently. But looking at my team though, I've still got quite a few players. Well, I say quite a few players. I haven't really, but I've still got like De Bruyne, Martial, Mount, and Abraham. I'm confident that Chelsea can score away at City. I really do. I do think they can.
See, Liverpool aren't playing next week at Sunday either. It's a penalty appeal at Brighton, but it doesn't look like it will go through.
Who for? For Leicester?
For Brighton.
For Brighton, okay. Penalty not given for Brighton.
Come on, Mane.
I could have done with a Brighton.
Sake.
No, I couldn't have done. What am I on about? I've got so...
Interesting, another hoop saying there's no home teams winning at the moment. Of course, I mocked Vince Chapman about that.
Yeah, the home teams. Very good point. That's really odd, isn't it?
Absolutely laughable.
Wow. Just listening into the radio and reading the comments and chat. Chelsea will score a couple against City, mark my words, 60 balls.
That's a point. Team news will be out soon for Man City versus Chelsea.
It will be.
Vish. And Everton are annoying. How are they losing to Norwich? Because they're useless. Chelsea fly. What's happening in the Arsenal game? Because no one's speaking about it. Well, evidently nothing's going on. A game's only gets spoken about if something's going on. To be fair, no one's barely speaking about anything on the radio. Hey Jason, is Son going to be your next transfer in?
No, I can't get him in without taking a hit, and I've taken enough hits anyway. I would love to get him in, but who? I mean, it'll be a combination of Hudson-Odoi, Mount, and I know I can't really get him in without sacrificing my attacking line, really. And if I was going to do that, I'd probably bring in Kane. But you've got Kane, and I don't want to do the move that you've done. So
Kevin De Bruyne.
Again, I'm going to wait to see what he does against Chelsea. Hang on. Looks like a Vardy assist. Abdul, are you just getting that through now?
Camby Labata saying, I'm not a gambling man. I'm not a gambling man, Mr. Folty. But I have a £1 bet in work tomorrow. I've got Sheffield United to win against another chef who's gone with Man U. I honestly believe Sheffield United are better. How do you see tomorrow's game? Well, Jason, you're the Man United fan. What do you think?
Player for player, Man United are the better team. But Sheffield United are the better of the two drilled teams, better coached teams out of the two. I think it'll be a tight game, but I still think United will win. I benched Lundstrom because I do see Martial, Rashford, maybe James getting in with the points. Yeah, Tobias is 1-0. Yeah, what did I say in the predictions on that game? I can't remember now.
Vardy close with an assist for Maddison.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll quickly have a look and see what I'd said on the predictions in that game. I went with
2-0.
Oh, who scored?
No one scored.
Oh no! Oh, you're saying 2-0 as my prediction. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at you at the moment. I thought you just reacting to a goal. Yeah, I said 2-0 to Man United.
Right.
Maybe 1-0.
Camby Labata saying that he captained Lundstrom.
Captain. Oh wow.
And bench Martial.
Wow. Well, it's different thought process to me.
And a question in from Ask Hey Route. Should we go for Spurs players now Josie has arrived? Yes. End of discussion. I think Son for the price.
Thing is,
Kane, I think. I like Kane. I think what Jose does with his strikers is superb. But maybe the fact that FPL Boona has got both Son and Kane, very, very lucky man indeed. I wouldn't be getting rid of them whatsoever.
Interesting. Yeah, the De Bruyne move is probably. You're right. The De Bruyne move is the only one I can straight swap without taking a point hit. And do I really want to be getting De Bruyne for getting rid of De Bruyne?
Penalty for Southampton, I believe.
Oh wow!
Danny Ings with the he was the one that was fouled.
Danny Ings taken down in the box. Apparently, it's a penalty. Danny Ings bandwagon, yeah.
Phil, if this penalty goes in, then well done to Phil. You can stick a middle finger up to all those people on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram. Stick a middle finger up to them. Yeah, Tierney with the tackle. He's got a yellow card. And congratulations, Phil. Unbelievable. Could you imagine it?
Michael Foley brings up a good point. Obviously, Henderson not able to play tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. Will have an effect though. I mean, he's a very, very good goalkeeper, but possibly. Is it more their defence is more drilled? I mean, I don't have a clue about how many shots are sent in or anything like that malarkey. So
let me know if he scores a penalty.
Absolutely. Is Danny
Not
Ainsworth?
They even gone to it on my end. There's a VAR review
It's
apparently.
been given a penalty. It's been given. It has been given.
How is Arsenal losing to Southampton? They're not at the moment. They haven't taken the penalty yet. Oh, here we go. They've just caught up on the other radio station that I'm listening to.
Ward
here we
Prowse. So Daily Lama's got Ward Prowse. Danny Ings would have the assist.
Hang on.
Ward Prowse.
It's saved. It's saved.
But Ward
Follows
Prowse-
it up and scores. Follows it up. So it was saved by
Daily
Leno.
Lama-
And then
Daily
follows.
Lama has Ward Prowse. Would you blinking believe it?
Forget about that. But what about poor old Phil, who's now not going to get an assist?
Oh, who cares about Phil? He's a rival.
Who cares about Lama? He's a mod, but we love him. But he's also a rival. Well done, Lama. Well done. No assist.
So Daily Lama's just won out big time there. A rival that I'm sure Lama's ahead of Phil. Sure he is.
Arsenal. All I'm going to say is, guys, I don't like promoting it, but Arsenal Fan TV tonight is going to be thrilling. Bring your popcorn.
Emery out by any chance? Emery out.
Mount has been benched apparently.
Oh yeah, team news.
Oh my god. Oh, well, okay. The chances of him not coming on are very little, so I'm probably going to get 1 point.
Sorry?
Great.
Mount? Chance
Yeah,
of him
Mount is
not
benched.
coming on. Are you mad?
I
Also
said,
come on.
I said the chance of him not coming on is little.
Right, yeah.
There you go. Hey, listen to the full sentence. Great. So 1 point. Great.
Oh, Pulisic starts. Thank goodness for that.
Of course he starts. If Mount is benched, he's going to start.
Well, Mount doesn't take his place anyway. It would have been Hudson-Odoi if anybody, or
Is Hudson-Odoi playing then?
no, it's Willian Abraham Pulisic, Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic in the midfield, Azpilicueta, Zuma, Tomori, Emerson, and Man City's team. I wonder what it will be. And Aguero starts, Sterling starts, De Bruyne. Oh, Mahrez starts. So Edison's back. So Cancelo, Stones, Fernandinho, Mendy, of course he plays. Rodrigo, Silva, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Sterling, and Aguero.
Wow.
No Walker again.
Wow. 2 seconds, guys. Be right back.
So there we have it, everybody. And that's a game that I will be covering. So at 5:30 p.m, if you're interested, sticking around with me to watch to listen in to how the Man City-Chelsea game goes. Hick76 says he's looking forward to the game later. It'll be David Silva, Aussie boy. David Silva will be the one. Simeon Batchelor saying that Hudson-Odoi is out injured for a few weeks. Really? What a shame. What a shame. Yeah, Brighton, Matt Henley. Brighton getting caught out on a lot. I can see another goal on this. Phil Potter. Phil, what's your thoughts on what's happened so far? What are your thoughts on this Danny Ings losing out the assists, my friend, and the fact that your rival, Daily Lama, got the goal, though, with the rebound? One Rovers, Charlie saying he's a hamstring injury for thingy. Sultan Saeed, good afternoon. Powell, Ryan, one more save for another point. Matt Brunton, thank you. Yeah. Oh, Phil, so yeah, I've no thought about that. Phil is Daily Lama's doubles partner.
Hello.
Forgot about that. Oh well.
What's that?
The doubles league that Lama
Oh,
set
yes.
up.
Yeah, doubles league.
Him and Phil are together.
Aurier with an assist and 2
Oh,
goals.
Denara Gray, I don't believe it. Vardy's got a penalty.
Oh, please.
Sorry. Stop. No. Sorry, hold on. Wait a minute, hold on. Sorry. No, it is. Oh, it is, yeah. Damari Gray, and now, sorry, I thought they were talking about something else.
VAR's looking at it.
VAR's checking, but it's going to be a pen. The assist is Damari Gray. It's going to be a penalty, no matter what. Fire Tog, you didn't need to give us that. Thank you so much. Great coverage, guys. You reckon? Got a bloke here despondent, another guy that's probably sat back thinking, oh. Oh, hold on a minute. What was this? Perez could be taking the penalty. Hold on.
Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, he's... Oh, he saved it! Oh, he's hit the rebound then! Oh, Maddison, though. Maddison got the rebound. Maddison got the rebound. Vardy missed the penalty. Matt Ryan of all blinking people. But Maddison got the... Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. Salt and size, you lucky git. He's got Ryan and Maddison. Hold on, we're checking the blasted VAR. Every bloody goal that goes in. Retaken penalty again. I just don't get this Premier League this season. Every goal is flaming checked. It's so annoying.
What's annoying? What's annoying?
They're retaking the penalty, Jason.
Please
That's
tell
what's
me you're
bloody
joking.
annoying.
Please tell me you're joking.
No, I'm being serious.
I'm literally sat here despondent right now. They're retaking the penalty.
Genuinely.
Please tell me this is serious, right?
Yes.
Come on. Oh my God.
Did you hear that then?
No, I haven't heard anything.
He just said on the radio, fantasy football managers will have their mouth in their out or whatever he just said. Tweet about this, everybody. Here we go,
Jamie
Vardy.
Vardy, please. You've had one chance.
Here we go. Vardy's stepping up. Here we go, Vardy stepping up.
Yes! Come on! Come on! Jamie Vardy! Come on!
Check that!
Zaha scored! Crystal Palace have just scored! Oh my God, my double Liverpool defence. VAR, Zaha VAR. Is this VAR apparently? Well, you can't celebrate goals anymore, can you?
No, you can't. It's
or celebrate penalty saves in your case.
You can't celebrate anything in this stupid flaming world at the moment.
Leicester third goal. Says Martial Matters. What? What? Are you? What? I'm not getting that information. I'm not sure where that's come from.
No, it's not. It's not. It's still 2-0. Don't worry about that.
Right, so it's a goal stood for Palace. There is no Zaha VAR. Right, okay, guys, calm down on this VAR, please. Can you stop?
Goal for the Grecians. And in the Premier League, Arsenal 1, Southampton 2, Bournemouth 1, Wolves 2, Brighton 0, Leicester 2.
This is insane. This is insane. Palace are all over them. Palace are all over Liverpool at the moment.
Absolutely waste of time.
Steve-O, you keep saying that I get really jammy with fantasy football.
Oh, God, I don't want to hear it. It is jammy with flaming fantasy football. That's what it is. This is what annoys me. I don't want to talk about it. It just infuriates me. It really does. It takes the... You get the idea.
I get the idea.
Unbelievable. Robertson, assist. Vardy, flaming misses penalty and then all of a sudden gets a penalty on the retake. So does that mean then, yeah, that means then the minus points won't count and that just gets stuffed. This is why I just can't be bothered with this game sometimes, and I'm being serious. Mate, I just cannot be bothered with it. No matter what you do,
I can't say anything. I'm speechless, man. I can't argue against it. It. Literally, if you could see me, I was literally just sat back in my chair, just. Oh, it's a goal. Liverpool, Firmino. Goal.
I don't care that Liverpool have scored. I really don't.
Who's got the assist? Liverpool back in. 2 goals, cushions restored. Oh no, not 2 goal cushion. Back in the league. What am I on about? 2-1. Liverpool.
Hold on, Burnley. Burnley had a penalty, I think.
No assist, apparently, that Firmino goal.
Wait a minute, I think Watford have got a blasted penalty.
Who?
Watford.
Oh. Penalty to Burnley. Or
No,
penalty
Burnley.
Hang on.
Why do they
Hang on.
talk normally on a frigging radio? Christ's sake.
Penalty for Burnley.
We have got a penalty. Burnley have got a penalty. VAR have given a penalty.
Oh my god. What's that? What does this mean for Mane's bonus points then?
I don't care, Jay. I don't even care. I really don't care, even if Mane got 3. Ashley Barnes is about to take the penalty.
Well, as it stands, Alisson, Van Dijk, and Mane are on bonus. No, they're not. As it stands, Firmino's on bonus 3. Robertson, Zaha on bonus 2.
Yes. Come on. Why don't you review that? See if the penalty flaming deserved flaming be taken. Fucking useless.
Your team's winning. Big chance at Wolves. There's possibly a goal at Wolves. Reese in chat saying that you should be happy, Steve-O.
Why? Tell me why.
Reese,
Come on, Discord.
why should
come
he be
on
happy?
Discord and talk to me why I should be happy. Apart from the fact that we're winning, but I've said this 1,000 times. We always beat / we don't lose against our relegation rivals. Yes, obviously I'm happy Burnley are winning, but at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but fantasy football has taken over my life. I've said it earlier on, and I'm just so friggin' annoyed at today. It's ridiculous. I mean, what does that work out as a differential as in the points wise, Jason? Seriously, like regarding
we're currently 2 points away. I'm 2 points ahead of you.
Yeah, but including so what that'd be 5 because of the bonus 3 for Vardy,
and the bonus 2 for Robertson.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about captaincy wise at the moment.
About captaincy, yeah. So you're at 5 points, yeah.
But Robertson's going to get 2 bonus.
Yeah, it's still early. I mean, you still got Pulisic to play.
What, against Man City?
Yeah. Do you think Man City are going to keep a clean sheet? Honestly,
there's a high chance. Yes.
No. We've got Lundstrom, who I've benched, playing at home to United.
Yeah, that's got 1-0 either way written all over it, 2-1 either way written all over it.
And that's about it. And that's it compared to our differentials. Well, there's literally no difference between our teams, Stevie. Really, like it's like five or 6. Let's be honest. You were banking on Kane doing something, and Mane did do something, but he hasn't done enough to offset.
He got a goal, didn't he?
Well, he didn't do enough to offset the Vardy goal and assist, essentially.
If I didn't get rid of Vardy, I got rid of Abraham.
I know, but I'm just saying in terms of captaincy picks.
Yeah, but I was never going to captain Vardy or Kane.
I'm just talking about players that we got different to each other. So obviously you have Kane in.
Differentials, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kane over Abraham.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't understand your point, mate.
No. My point being is that you were banking on essentially you're just banking. You really were banking with that Kane transfer. I mean, if you'd have told the result 3-2, you would have thought Kane would have got more than 5 points, wouldn't you?
No. I would have expected a minimum of a goal. A minimum of a goal, and he returned me a goal.
Something. Who?
Don't worry, it's West Brom.
Oh, bloody Sheffield Wednesday again. Sorry. Oh god.
It's just so laughable, isn't it, Jason? It really is laughable.
I just can't believe that Vardy missed a penalty and then got it re-awarded for encroachment after Maddison scored from it.
Yeah, but it's...
So they scored from the penalty.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't know if I've ever seen that before, where a team has scored from the penalty, and then
because I suppose ironically it's going to be
close to Zaha being a goal possible. It's close. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Trying to be in favour of the opposite team because they may have a chance of saving the penalty.
Yeah. Apparently, both Leicester and Brighton's players, both teams encroached. Apparently. Right. Okay. I hope he does, James. I really do hope KDB tears it up tonight for all those people that got rid of him for Son.
So you're gonna get 5 points ahead of me because Robertson got an assist.
Let's have a quick double check of the bonus points as they stand because they could have possibly changed. So last time I checked,
they're not a flaming change, are they?
Well, Zaha keeps missing big chances. They might. Sounds like Palace are really giving the 3-0 to Burnley?
No.
Tarkovsky, yeah.
Oh no, it
Tarkovsky
is
with a goal.
3-0. Yeah, Tarkovsky. Huh?
James Tarkovsky
Hold
with a
on,
goal.
Norwich have scored.
And
Norwich have scored as well.
Norwich has scored, let me guess, Pookie.
3-0. 3-0. We've actually scored 3 goals.
Who got the goal for Norwich then? Wow, Robertson's not even in on the bonus points at the moment. Mane is though.
Sorry?
Yeah, Firmino on bonus 3, Zaha on bonus 2, and Mane bonus 1 currently, but their bonus points are really, really tight, really clumped up together. So this could still change.
Apparently, Steeperman got the goal for
Steeperman
for Norwich. Thank you, guys. So-and-so, Max Edwards. 3-0.
It's almost the dying embers of the game. Can Palace get that goal to make this title race?
I'm telling you now, if Marnie scores in the next 2 seconds, I'm downing the bottle of vodka.
Roll, you heard it first, guys. Let's all pray together, shall we? 18-pointer for Tarkowski. Oh. Oh, Liverpool breaking. Oh, Mane to Wijnaldum, and it's saved.
So at the moment, between me and you, it's Abraham and Mount versus Pulisic and Lundstrom.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, I ain't got Mount. Well, Mount's not. Well, I have got Mount, but Mount's
he's
not
come on the
starting.
pitch.
He
Fact.
will. He will come on. Yeah. Double Leicester defence coming in clutch. Uncle Juicy, well done.
Mm.
Tompkins has been in this game quite a bit, I've heard. Wow.
8 minutes from time, Matty Ryan having saved the initial spot kick.
Yeah, Yassine. Showing the Marnie must be crying after captaining Richarlison.
There we go, final whistle. Liverpool have won.
Picked out the same corner and this time scored his 12th
Final whistle, 2-1 Liverpool.
as the nearest
Wow.
challenger at the top of the Premier League. It finishes
Wow.
here. 2-0. Leicester
Your
City
captain scores. You can't ask for much more than that. But then when you hear that Jamie Vardy takes a penalty, as it say, I completely understand why you're pissed. Sorry, annoyed. I could honestly, mate. I'm not rubbing it in. I'm not rubbing it in because if this had happened to you, I would have been like, I can't believe this. I can't believe.
Block FPL, Everton are embarrassment. I'll tell you what's an embarrassment. It's the flaming VAR rubbish. Laughable.
Well, technically, I mean, if both teams did run into the box, if they're going to the letter of the law, but at the end of the day, Maddison scored off the save. So, did it really need to be retaken? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess if Brighton players, encroach into the box, and I don't know, whatever.
They've been on the game. Liverpool now lost 1 in the last 52 Premier League games, so they're a great team.
Just gonna go through these results. I mean, they're just.
Goal, but it stood.
So I got from today's games, I got 3
Got the goal that was made,
out of the 7 results. I got the outcomes of 3 out of the 7 right. That's the Liverpool outcome. I had the Liverpool to win 2-0. They obviously won 2-1. I had Leicester to win 3-1. They won 2-0. I
got again predictions. I went well again.
Yeah, I bet your predictions went well.
Oh, I got 2 bang on the money. Brighton and Crystal Palace game.
What was it with the home teams today, though? literally no home team won so far. Whoa, hang on. Arsenal 2, Southampton 2.
Yeah.
Lacazette.
You're joking.
Lacazette.
Yeah.
Looks
I
like it's
find-
been given as well.
I've got to say, Jason, the statistics, whenever I do the history and it's like over the last 6 fixtures and a common theme that keeps coming up, the statistics, it's for example, in the Everton-Norwich game, whenever there's been a win, which there was only 3, they've always been to 0. What's happened today? Norwich have won to 0. West Ham Spurs, there's been 3-2 victories in this game, both of them being away from home. What happened today? 3-2 victory away from home.
I just have
Blimey,
to say thank you to Camby Labacta. Thank you ever so much for that
appreciate
pound
that.
tip. That's very appreciated. 2 hours. Thanks for the great hour. Enjoyed your company. I think that was one hell of an emotional 5 minutes. I'll be honest with you, because obviously the moment after Vardy scored his penalty that he missed, obviously my double Liverpool clean sheet went as well.
Like I said,
it was 8 points.
If SMZ, anybody out there that can seem to clip things and everything, the moment that the VAR decision overrules the Vardy miss and then gives it and everything, just clip that whole 4 minutes, put it out on social media, and I'm telling you now, that's going to get 500 million views.
Wow. Okay.
And we'll still get 2 subscribers.
I just want to say that it's been a great Saturday FPL Live, hasn't it? And couldn't really ask. I mean, after a very slow start to the games, it's been a very good Saturday, and very similar scores. I think we're going to see a lot of teams, a lot of managers on the round 40, 44, 45, 50 points maybe mark. I mean, if anyone's on any. Fire Talk
straight away, 17 points, lost the Liverpool clean sheet, and that Maddison goal.
How many more players have you got to play though, Fire Talk?
Come and rant on Discord later.
Yeah, come and give Steve-O a load of grief, because you deserve to be annoyed, not him. Wolves up to 5th place, 50 points and 5 to play, says Ivilo in chat. 50 points and 5 to play, that's brilliant. 57 points with 4 left, Paulie. Oh, God. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, Steve-O will be taking a break, and then we'll be coming back for the Chelsea City game. So please make sure that you tune in to see that, because that's going to be an interesting one. I mean, especially if Tammy Abraham gets a goal or 2, that definitely would be interesting. I'll be tuning in from the restaurant. I'll be watching it going, come on. No, but I'm gonna have to shoot very shortly, guys. But I very much look forward to watching that one back and catching the end of your stream. And it all rides on that game, really, doesn't it? It rides on that game. And Pulisic versus Abraham.
Hold a minute. Whoa. Before we go here.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. Right, so Camby Labacta, you can confirm to me that you're Neil Daniels, Nelly's hero. Now, you may be wondering why on earth I've just mentioned that, because he's proclaiming that he's 2nd in our community league.
Nelly's heroes, and Neil Daniels.
In our community league. Now, this guy, Captain Lundstrom, just like Camby Labacta, 64699. Yeah, 646. Is this for real, Neil? This is your team?
1,287th last night overall rank. Wow.
And
he's got 3.7 in the bank. Wow.
Jesus. Blimey.
Captain Lundstrom. That's wow. Very bold. Very bold. I benched him. Oh dear. Well done, man. Well done for being so high.
Was somebody chilling out listening to our show?
But he obviously doesn't like Man United.
He's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, well there you go.
Yeah, ironically, he's got no Liverpool attack.
Yeah, double Liverpool defence like me, and
he benched Mount. What does he know that we don't?
Oh, and of course he had Ryan in. Oh, he had Ryan in goal. He would have had the perfect situation.
Well, I mean, him doing so well, and he's not Captain Vardy. I mean,
well, he's going to be praying that McGinn gets 6 goals at home to Newcastle on Monday.
Kev making the point. Nice one, lads. Was worth waking up so early. I pay for all the Premier League coverage, but actually prefer to watch your reactions. You're having again. You're having a laugh. Sat here in silence, want to just smash something up. Brilliant, Jason. Let's get out of here.
Cheers, guys. Thank you ever so much. We look forward to you coming on, giving us your opinions tomorrow night, and obviously tune in this evening for the Chelsea Man City game with Steve-O. Take care now, guys.